Well, it looks like we finally got a little bit of movement in the Deshaun Watson case. 20 out of the 24 cases have now been settled. What does this mean for Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns, and the future of the quarterback? Will we see him in 2022? We talk about all of that coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Your host, Garrett Bush, at GBush91. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every day, whether it's on your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you're following, subscribed, or, of course, now on YouTube, well over 1,000 subscribers. Very appreciative to everybody who's gone that avenue with us. Some of you were anticipating it, obviously more maybe into that world of content these days, some trying something new. Of course, we appreciate all of you. Some things to get into here. First things first, the Baltimore Ravens, deepest condolences, the passing of outside linebacker Jalen Ferguson, 26 years old. Jalen Ferguson has 2 young children he's leaving behind. So a tragic day for the Baltimore Ravens. And look, at the end of the day, football is family. And the Baltimore Ravens obviously in a very tough spot, difficult day down in Baltimore. Condolences to the Ravens and, of course, certainly to the Ferguson family. As Garrett attested to, Deshaun Watson and his legal team have satisfied 20 of the 24 civil cases pending. Some keep in mind there are thoughts of maybe another 1, 2, if not possible, more cases coming. Who knows if those maybe got taken care of, in this swoop. Maybe they got taken care of before they even got, filed. For Watson, this is something where whatever punishment was going to come Deshaun Watson's way, the NFL wanted this. They did not want this to go on anymore. The Deshaun Watson talks and allegations have now been going on since 2020 for what went, his, role in all of this. These talks have been going on almost 19 months, closing in on 2 years. The NFL does not want to hear about it anymore. The Browns don't want to hear about it anymore. So with this, putting 20 out of the 24 cases, basically behind them as far as settling the cases, for anybody who's been, for Deshaun Watson as far as, innocent until proven guilty, I don't think that's going to change your stance. For anybody who certainly thinks Deshaun Watson maybe is some sort of monster, I'm sure there's probably not going to change your stances there. But I also think from the NFL, Garrett, and I truly feel the Browns, Deshaun Watson, the NFL, I think everybody knows what the punishment is going to be for Deshaun Watson. I think that's already been talked about. I think it's already been handled. It's maybe unofficially official for whatever Deshaun Watson is going to get. But the NFL certainly wanted less talk of this. They wanted this to, basically stop. And by, settling 20 of these 24 cases, that's the case that's going to go. We'll see if the, remaining 4 cases currently do get settled as well. Maybe those, folks get, a larger settlement than the first 20. And from the legal standpoint, this is something where whatever check Deshaun Watson cut yesterday for the lawyer for the 20, 20 people who had the complaints against him, you go through a long legal process, and even sometimes to prove your innocence. And to this point, look, I mean, some people are going to say because he wrote the check, he's guilty. Some people are going to say it was easier to write the check because it would have cost him more money to prove his innocence. Look, it's all legalese, and this is a football show. Sadly, we do have to talk about it. It's a good thing for Garrett and I. We're getting closer and closer to the end of it, thank God. But for Deshaun Watson, look, the clearing of the name, for those who are against it, that was never going to happen. There was no way. I mean, the world we live in, Garrett, people make up their minds and they are very, very reluctant to ever change it. So for Deshaun Watson, putting this past him, hopefully getting back to when his potential career will begin with the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, but there's a lot of different range of emotions that, when you bring up this story, it comes out. And I think one of the things that I think is important that you do bring out is for a segment of the population, they were never going to embrace the move. They were never going to, even if they, to me, even if he would have came out and fought every single one of these cases, even if all 24 of these cases turned out to be when they went to court, if he won those cases, there would always still be someone that says they don't believe it. They don't believe the first one. They don't believe the second one. They don't believe any investigations. So they would still be like, hey, he's guilty. You can't have these many allegations without being guilty. So one of the things that I think that happened here was one of the things that I've been talking about from day one. When you're dealing with big time organizations and within business, the last thing you want is class action type lawsuits, right? And this is a big one. Do you know how many people in the NFL get massages, right? Do you know how many individuals that are involved, whether it be with the team, whether those guys are getting massages individually? There was a lot of people that are working on these players' bodies at all times. The last thing the league wants is for them to be wrapped up in it, where it goes from Deshaun Watson was the person with the wrongdoing. And then they mentioned the Houston Texans that started to talk about some of the other leagues' teams being involved in it. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's a class action lawsuit against the NFL. And if you set up or you talk about when you look at these allegations, one of the most dangerous things in the world is precedent. Right. Precedent is one of those things that we talk about in the court of law. Precedent is what we talk about when it talks about punishment and doing whatever you need to do. And one of the things the NFL did not want to do is set a precedent in which somebody can make an allegation, then tie the teams or the NFL back to it, right? And when you're doing those things, you get discovery, you have lawsuits, and to be honest, nobody wants that. So they got in the room with Deshaun Watson and said, "Look, man," and I believe the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans were there. I believe their lawyer was there, all three involved. He said, "Look, we're going to settle these cases, right? This is what it is." They told, and I believe they told Buzbee, "Look, hey, we're going to settle these cases, right? You're going to sign the NDAs. You're going to get up out of here. We're going to move on. Deshaun, you're going to pay these, and this is the amount of games that you're going to get, right? Well, they may say, I'm going to give you 8. We'll let you appeal it down to 6, and at the end of the day, that's what he had to do." Like they said, hey, if you don't want to be suspended indefinitely, this is what you need to do in order for this to get behind you. This is the punishment. Let's keep it moving. We're not going to be doing no talking. Let's get this thing all over with. And so that's what happened. Any people who want to say like anything opposite of that, there could be an opinion on that. But knowing how big business works and knowing how this things works with things that go behind backdoor room dealings in the shadows, nobody wanted this thing to continue to go on. He paid him. He got him out the way. Now the league and Deshaun Watson can go about playing football. And basically, the public can stop looking and turn it over and investigating this thing on their own.
Basically, what Deshaun Watson is going to see a suspension for is basically, what is called conduct unbecoming. The NFL does not like players getting caught up in these type of headlines. Deshaun Watson could have taken this to civil court, won every single case, but still, as far as the NFL is concerned, would have been seeing a suspension. So, he got himself involved in this situation. And either way, it essentially comes down to he was conducting unlike the NFL wants their players to conduct. So either way, he was facing a suspension. So to get this mostly over with, settle with these prospective plaintiffs. Exactly. And I think that's what the NFL basically said, look, settling and getting this out of the headlines is your fastest route to get back onto the football field. Obviously, this is something the Cleveland Browns wanted. The NFL doesn't want people to continue to talk about this story. So this is how we get to the situation where we are. As far as, compensation, look, I mean, none of us were in this situation. None of us are the plaintiffs in this case. I think, if they feel that they got maybe what they felt they were owed or reparation, so to speak. But for this, as far as it maybe being a mainstream headline, that's probably going to die down a little bit. The next shoe to drop, and which Garrett and I will talk about here in a second, is what's going to be, the suspension and the time away from the Cleveland Browns for Deshaun Watson. We have that coming up here in just a minute. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. At BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of your dreams to getting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you are celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Build the engagement ring of her dreams or celebrate life's special moments with fine jewelry. No matter what you were looking for, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Browns listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use promo code Locked On. All caps, no space, Locked On. Plus, every order is unique. It ships for free, and it arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today.
Locked On Brown podcast. Make sure you go subscribe. Make sure you go. Definitely continue to download the episodes. Dedicated Browns content every single day. Me and Jeff in here doing this thing, getting it together. Make sure you go ahead and follow us at gbush91, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd, and make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you like the videos, comment. Let's get in there and get into some comments, and definitely the like button really helps our videos out a lot. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and making sure that our content is pushed out to Browns fans all across the country. Also, make sure you still downloading the podcast the normal way. Sometimes you guys take a look at our podcast, and you may be driving to work in the morning. You got the kids in the car. You can download that. It'll get you through that rush hour traffic. Lord knows I'll be in rush hour traffic every morning. So make sure you continue to do that as well. Jeff, we talked about what our opinions are of what's going on and how we came to this resolution with Deshaun Watson and doing some settlements. Now, as we look on the internet, via Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com, Browns beat reporter, she is saying that they're expecting a verdict on what the amount of games, what punishment they will specifically be looking at with Deshaun Watson within the next week, or within a couple of days, she said. So they've already done the investigation. They've already said that had concluded. They pretty much, kind of, in my opinion, I think they already talked to Deshaun Watson and said, hey, let's get this thing done. Let's get this thing taken care of. So now it just comes down to what type of punishment you think you're going to get, and it comes down to the games. Because as I said before, there's some people that'll be on the fringes of this that won't care exactly what he settled for, how he settled for. They're just not going to like the move. They're not going to like the person. They're not going to like, some of the allegations. So at the end of the day, you're those people, you're not going to appease those people. It is what it is. But for the rest of contingency people who watch the Browns, who support the Browns, or whatever the case may be, the next step is figuring out what the punishment is. I think if you look at it from a standpoint, and this is just my strict way of looking at it, the NFL Players Association has already set up themselves, saying that, look, if it's a year-long suspension, we're going to fight it. And they've already given the weapons in which they want to use to fight it. They're going to point to Robert Kraft. They're going to point to Daniel Snyder. They're going to point to multiple Jerry Jones allegations and payments and all of these different things. And they're going to say, if you're sitting here saying you have to protect the Shield, that's BS. You know why? Because you had people who belong to the Shield, 3 of its own brethren, who've had similar allegations, according to this, and even more serious, in talking about a prostitution string or a sting, or possibly a human trafficking case in Jupiter, Florida, with Robert Kraft. They already got the ammunition, right? So I think what they did, they got behind closed doors, says, look, let's do this. it ain't gonna be a year. We'll give you 8 games, and you could appeal for a 2-game lesson. That we'll break it down to 6, right? I think in my mind, I've always thought 4 to 6, somewhere around that area. It could be as high as 8, and then he appeals and gets 2 off. I don't think that the league is going to want to start a sword fight with Deshaun Watson over some of these things, because it once again, it just isn't going to stop. If you're trying to appease one side of the fan base to say, look, we do care about this kind of stuff, without the other side of the fan base saying, well, hold on, what about the double standard? This ain't right. You split the difference. You 6 games, keep it pushing. Then you can say, look, he settled the lawsuits. It's not a criminal case. He paid it off. We're gonna fine him for that. Let's keep it moving. I think it ultimately ends up 4 to 6 games.
I think for me, I would just say that maybe 4 probably feels a little bit light. And some of this is obviously going to come down to, how much this has been in the headlines, how big it has been in the headlines. The fact that he cleared having any formal charges against him, and it looked like maybe the situation was easing up a little bit. Then the Browns make the move. And he gets here with the Browns, and a couple of times, I'm going to do everything I can to clear my name. Now more allegations. Then finding out it's a number as high as, I guess it was 66, 67 possible masseuses over a 19-month period. The possibility of more lawsuits, coming and being filed against Deshaun Watson. So it's certainly, as when he was dismissed of any wrongdoing as far as legal concerns are, you thought the worst of this was over. It then started to percolate and heat up again, with some talk and obviously more allegations once he became a Cleveland Brown. So I think 4 games, if he avoided those charges and just came to the Browns and it was the civil suits the way it was constructed, I think 4 games is probably the way it would have went. The fact that this situation got a little bit uglier, more came out, more allegations came out, I think that ups the ante a little bit. I think I agree with your original statement where this is going to be possibly an 8-game suspension, probably monitored down to 6, or they just come out and say 6. We'll see. And as far as, when we're probably going to hear the word of this, my guess, Garrett, this has got all the makings of, I would say, Friday, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. NFL sends one out as they're walking out of the offices for the weekend. This feels like the word of Deshaun Watson, basically his suspension, his, basically his punishment from the league. This feels so much like the typical Friday news dump.
Yeah, I think it'll happen. Friday. You see, the crazy part about it is, man, maybe it's just, I've lived, I got to be, I'm 40 now, and you've seen so much go on in the world. It just seems like it doesn't, even if you come out with it on Friday. I've never understood the news dump thing. Like, we all know what it is, right? We all understand what it is. Like, we're not young. We understand when you do things like that, you're trying to get people not to pay attention to it. So for me, I've always come to it from a standpoint and say, look, come out, rip the Band-Aid off of it and say, look, this is what it is, and keep it moving. The league has also messed themselves up a little bit in this by continuously prolonging it. I understand that they wanted to get behind it and they wanted to kind of be like, we're giving all appearances as if we are looking into this and we're doing our due diligence and we want to, consider and weigh all of the facts, but you're not. You've never, here's my thing. To me, the NFL cannot be a moral beacon of society. I mean, can we continue to talk about the concussion lawsuits, right? All those years, the league fights random just appeals for even regular insurance for disability. They fight all of these cases, and these veterans ain't making no money. They're making like $60,000 in benefits, but the league fights them, right? There's been countless things. There's investigations about whether or not Flores was told to tank games or not. All of these things are in the news cycle every single year for the NFL. And the reality of it is, the people that are going to watch it, they're going to still watch it. The people that won't watch it, they'll get away for a couple weeks and come back. Maybe they'll reinvigorate it. But the ratings don't lie. The league keeps getting more and more popular. The league continues to, grow. The money keeps going up. So for me, again, if you're gonna do it, bro, just go ahead and announce the announcement, and you could get it over with that quicker. We always said it, Jeff. You got children. It's like you telling them to clean their room, and they just procrastinate all the way. I said, I'm gonna give you 7 days to do it. They wait till Saturday at 12 p.m. to start cleaning up, and then be like, hey, just go ahead and get it done. You could do a little bit each day. You might can get it done on Tuesday, but just go ahead and finish it. And then you could go about your life. You can go out, you can hang out with your friends, you can play video games, you get on the phone with your friends, do some things in the summer, but don't wait to the last moment. And that's that's the message I take with the NFL. If you're gonna do it, just do it so you can keep it moving.
The correct analogy, as far as the Lloyd daughters would be concerned here, Garrett, is girls, make sure you feed the animals before your mom gets home. And what's the first response I get back from the girls? What time is mom going to be home? No. That means that's the polite way of saying do it now. Not mom will be home at 10, so at 9:57, let's rush around and do what we got to do. But look, for the NFL, they want this story to disappear as quickly as possible. So my ultimate feeling is the news of his suspension, which Garrett and I both agree, everybody knows. It is not public yet, but everybody knows what is coming. The NFL wants this out as quickly as possible. The reason they do these things on Friday is because if it's the weekend, and certainly in the summertime, everybody's going to go about their business. And then come back Monday morning. Sure, there'll be talk about it and this, that, and the other thing. Was it enough? Was it not enough? Was it the right? All that'll go on. But the NFL wants this to go away and go away quickly. We are going to come back here. Just some thoughts on what this will do as we're going to get word here, obviously, pretty soon here on Deshaun Watson. As far as Browns training camp, obviously the beginning of the season here for the Browns in 2022. More coming here. Garrett Bush, Jeff Lloyd, latest LOB. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL Stanley Cup and, of course, Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including the MMA, boxing, and now everybody's new favorite, golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yes. Locked On Browns podcast back at you again. Thanks for making us your first daily stop in all of your travels, listening to the podcast, giving you this daily content for the Cleveland Browns. I think are we the only people that do daily? There's a couple other people that do daily Browns content. I don't want to say we're the only one, but we the best though.
Facts are facts.
That's how we feeling about it, man. Make sure you continue to support the podcast. Coming out of this, you can kind of wrap your arms around it a little bit now. What does this all mean for the Browns? What does this all mean for what the Browns are going to be able to do? And what does this mean for the development of the early part of the season for the Cleveland Browns? I think we're one step closer. If we are able to get a suspension or figure out how many games, what it looks like, you'll be able to prepare yourself. You'll be able to brace yourself. And the cool thing about it is, and I don't want to say cool because none of this is really cool.
No.
The allegations, the payment, whatever the case is. But one of the most pertinent pieces of information and one of the most, the thing that helps the team is to understand, all right, Jacoby Brissett, you know how many games you're going to be starting, right? So now you go about preparing yourself in a way that you understand the playbook. Like it's a different way you got to prepare yourself from being a backup than a starter. And he knew this was coming down the pipeline, but now he gets to train. He gets to get his mind in a setup where he's now, when he's training, He's learning about, hey, when I get in that huddle, I need to command the huddle. I need to start building that rapport with my receivers. I need to start having the offensive lineman understand my cadence and just being more vocal presence, because you are going to be the captain of the ship until Deshaun Watson comes back. And we talked about this. The Cleveland Browns are too talented to talk about whether or not they're going to tank games and whether they're going to go 0-6 when Deshaun. No, you still got a roster that's talented. You still got a roster that has number one top three players at certain positions in the key positions on this field. So when you talk about this, the Cleveland Browns should be competitive in these games. And so now we can get everybody understanding, okay, Kevin Stefanski, hey, these first, 6 games, run game supposed to be on fire. Offensive line, we need you guys up there. We need you to be moving and shaking up there. Jacoby Brissett, we need you to hold on to the football. We need you to be smart with it. In defense, we need you to be lights out. So that's a great thing about it. Now guys can kind of settle into those roles and understand what they need to do through these first few games that Deshaun Watson is suspended.
With this, and now look, the Browns here, this is the third training camp for Kevin Stefanski. Obviously, he has a plan of how he wants to do things, what he wants to do. Last 2 years, it was a lot easier. He knew who his quarterback was. There was no quarterback competition. There certainly isn't a quarterback competition now. It's official word, because he needs to sit down and talk with Jacoby Brissett and say, how much time do you need? How many reps do you need? In the same respect, Deshaun Watson is still going to be a part of training camp. Deshaun Watson is with a new team, with a new system, with new receivers. He has to get work as well. And believe it or not, somebody is going to have to get some time at the third quarterback. If that's going to be Josh Dobbs, that's going to be somebody else. Somebody's going to have to get some time there, because, come September 11th, they are one snap away from Deshaun Watson nor Jacoby Brissett being the quarterback. So that would be what's behind door number 3. So the Browns have to find that. So there has to be a way to, basically divvy this up where everybody is getting enough pieces of the pie that they are going to be ready. Deshaun, when he eventually returns, Jacoby Brissett, September 11th, and God forbid, whoever is behind door number 3, if that opportunity sadly arrives for the Cleveland Browns. What does it also do for training camp? You're looking at Joe Woods and saying, Joe, we know this unit. We know what it's capable of. We know the way this unit played to close out the season last year. You need to be doing everything. And when the Browns defense shows up on July 27th to training camp, it should be nothing but the Carolina Panthers. What do we have to do to win this game on September 11th? I know it's July 27th, but what do we have to do to be ready come September 11th to make sure, number one, get this final 1-0, get this first 1-0 that we've never, ever had, and so drastically need just to, number one, get people to believe. Also, for the diehard fans, just one time, they'd like to have a week 1 victory Monday. Also, they would like to have it to believe that there is a chance here, that this thing is real, this team, that this time it will be different. So Joe Woods, obviously, eyes are on him. Offensive line, running game, the skill players. Everybody has to be ready to go. Everybody understands that there is going to be a very, very special player at the quarterback position eventually taking over this offense. But it's going to be a little time. There's no way around it. It's going to take a little time till you get to see, Deshaun Watson take over for this team. But that does not mean expectations all of a sudden are going to die for this team. You have 2 of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. You have a ridiculously good secondary. Your running backs between Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and the other guys. David Njoku, everybody is expecting to get a big, big leap in production. You know what the offensive line is capable of. This team has got to get to camp. Other thing they have to do is blinders, noise. That's it. The situation is over. Nobody needs to speak about Deshaun Watson anymore, nor should anybody be asked about Deshaun Watson anymore. And it is all focus, all eyes on going out and producing a large amount of W's in 2022.
Exactly. That's what it is. We know what the what the objective is. We know what it is. And I think that people will look at it like this, Jeff. We back to football, man. We back to football. Because I think I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get back out there and get after it, because I got a bad taste in my mouth as far as the disrespect that the Cleveland Browns have been receiving since we got Deshaun Watson. It's not because you can't like the allegations. I think there's a lot of cats in this media that been dumping cold water all over the Cleveland Browns. Like we don't got ball players. Like we still don't got Nick Chubb. Like we didn't get Amari Cooper. Like we don't got Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and guys like that. Just because Deshaun Watson and you don't like the situation with that, please don't make it act like we don't got a hell of a ball club and a hell of a team that's still going to be reckoned with. So I'm ready for them to get the guys out there and continue to play. Everybody got a lot to prove, Kevin Stefanski, a lot of those guys, because to be honest with you, they disrespected a lot of the Cleveland Browns in the preseason rankings. They disrespected them in terms of, when they want to rank your quarterback, your receivers, your defensive end. They got Nick Chubb after Najee Harris. We ain't forgotten none of that. We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all in about week 9 and see what y'all talking about then. That's all I got to say.
Look, this team, as you know, and there is a large amount of this fan base who will give the attention to the situation as needed, good or bad, depending on their stance. But I think most people on the inside we don't want to sit here and discuss the law and order of Deshaun Watson, the law and order of the Cleveland Browns. No, I don't want to see Dick Wolf produce a new series on this. We want to see this team. We want to see what this team is capable of, the way it is constructed. We want to see this product get going. July 27th, we're going to get that opportunity. Starting July 30th, there will be butts in the seats at training camp. And those who just want to get back to football. And look, the amount of time we spent talking legal stuff here the last few months, and bringing Garrett in here now for what I believe it's week 5 or whatever. Look, I am not a lawyer. Garrett is not a lawyer. Neither one of us stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last evening. So it's out of our realm. And for me to say, I think we are this close to the finish line of this scenario, and it can just be Cleveland Browns football, thank God, because that is all I truly want to talk about, Garrett. And I think we've kind of, hopefully, finally, maybe reached graduation.
There it is. That's all we want to do. And it's right around the corner. Training camp is coming up. You'll get an opportunity to see what this team is all about. And I think this is where we do best, which is basically, let's go ahead and get it in, man. Let's make sure we get this in, and the Browns going to do their thing, man.
Absolutely. Before we put a bow on this here, to my wonderful bride, Anne Marie, happy birthday, darling. Could not appreciate more everything you do for me and our daughters on a daily basis. To say you are a rock star is definitely a understatement. Got to a bunch here today. Obviously, most of this dedicated to the news coming yesterday from Deshaun Watson, settling 20 of 24 civil suits against him, 4 pending, perhaps more. That'll be out there. A Deshaun Watson suspension, whatever the number will probably be coming very, very soon. And the Browns can get to business as far as how they are going to handle their 2022 training camp. He is Garrett Bush for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Make sure you're checking that out. The Barbershop, Saturday mornings on 92.3 The Fan. Of course, you can catch Garrett there as well. Make sure you're following at GBush91. Me personally, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Show itself at Locked On Browns. Follow back account. You guys are always appreciated for making Locked On Browns your first listen day in, day out. Whether it's your favorite podcast platform, make sure you're following and subscribed, or now available on YouTube. For everybody who's subscribed over there, we certainly appreciate it. Again, very excited about it. Certainly not satisfied with it. Keep flooding over that way. Ton continuing to come here. Me and Garrett will be here every day, taking you into training camp, and then obviously just crushing it during training camp. With all of this being said, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.